the one listener who listens to us. This is episode 16 of the Pundit podcast. I'm joined with one of my best friends and co-host, Simon Canton. Hello, Simon.
Hello, everyone.
So we've made it to 16 episodes, and we've got quite a bit of variety for you this week. There's been a lot of different things that I didn't expect that kind of came out. Stuff that normally, some stuff is coming out the next week and you're kind of like, oh, I can't wait for this trailer. There's a lot of stuff like that came out. I didn't have a lot of knowledge of. We're going to talk about some trailers that launched this week. We're going to talk just generally about the upcoming E3 conference. I'd be very interested to talk to Simon about what he expects or is looking forward to from a news point in terms of PC gaming. This is going to be one of the first times in a long time, if at all, when the PC is going to have its own conference. There's been some casting news from Daredevil show, the show that Simon wrote a blog about last week that he hates. And again, I'd check out that. It's quite an interesting take on season 1 of Daredevil, and in fairness to you, Simon, as well. I mean, again, this can be found at simoncat.com, and a lot of respect. You kept up with that show. I mean, what I really hate is people who bomb on shows having seen 2 episodes, because we all know some of our favorite shows had a terrible first season, or if not season. Some of our best favorite shows, you go back and you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, or even the pilot. I mean, you can literally say, God, why did I ever watch this thing? But I mean, you've got quite an extensive, and I think, to be fair, quite a detailed review. I mean, this is, you remember parts of that season that I would have just passively watched and wouldn't be able to comment on. Again, that's on your blog, and well worth checking out for people who are interested in it. Some casting news in relation to that. We're going to obviously talk about Game of Thrones. We won't start this episode with that. We'll talk about a few other things. But obviously, we'll talk about this week's episode of Game of Thrones, Dance the Dragons. I know you've been watching the new Netflix show Sense8. I know that's something I have put on my list to watch on Netflix, but I haven't got to it yet. I want you to talk to me about. I know you've seen The Kingsman recently. This is a film got amazing reviews. Colin Firth, obviously, and a young British actor who was in a show last year called The Smoke, which was actually well worth watching. It was a Sky One show about British firefighters. It also starred Jamie Bamber, who was Apollo in Battlestar Galactica. A really good show, and actually would recommend anyone checking that out in IMDb and trying to find it. And there's a young actor in that as well who's in the Kingsman, and his name is, just let me get it. It's Taron Egerton, and he played a kind of a Jack O'Connell character. When I say Jack O'Connell's another British actor who's in Skins and has done a lot of stuff. He was in Angelina Jolie's Unbroken this year, kind of hard, kind of as nails type of whatever. But he was very good in The Smoke. I'd be interested to see what your views are just generally about the Kingsman. And another thing, but perhaps before we move on to some of the other topics, we'll keep them in somewhat of surprise. We're going to talk about some other things about Netflix and some other trailers we saw. Let's just talk about a trailer that popped up on the internet this week, The Martian, based obviously on a book that I have not read, and it's starring obviously Matt Damon, Mara, Jessica Chastain, Kirsten Wiig. Again, based on a book. Is this Drew Goddard did the screenplay, but I'm not sure. Andy Weir was the author. Yeah, that's right. But I mean, this looks like you'd almost like to say that this could be. The trailer is fantastic. Obviously, you don't want to give too much away, but I suppose there's an element of, well, we know it's going to have some elements of the typical Lost in Space type of film, like Armageddon or like Apollo.
No.
No, I'm not saying it does.
Absolutely not. Like, I read the book, I can tell you.
No, I agree. In a way, I the first thing I did when I saw the trailer was one, I said to myself, this is why I love Matt Damon, but also this is why I love Ridley Scott. Everything about it builds up a tension, an intrigue to the story. I hope the story isn't what I think it is from the trailer. Maybe it isn't. But one of the other things I did straight away was what?
What do you think it is from the trailer?
In the trailer, obviously, the main story seems to be mission goes wrong, everyone evacuates, one man is left dead, or so they think. He's not dead, and now let's bring him home. And there's elements of, like, for instance, Apollo 13, obviously, Tom Hanks's film with Ron Howard, had an element of that, which is, mission goes wrong, we're going to lose these astronauts and this ship. It's going to be the first time we've lost Americans in space. Bring them home, which obviously is based on a true story as well. So that's what I mean by reference to that. And I'm sure there'll be sort of.
I'd say it's. I mean, I'm only guessing, but from the book, I would say it's going to be quite close to maybe Gravity mixed with Apollo 13.
Yeah. So there's this tension. Will they not? Whatever. One thing I did was I certainly text my brother, because he's a big avid reader, and he's actually, I would have texted you, Simon, but you're not close. And I sort of said, have you read The Martian? Do you have do you have a spare copy? Because he always has books of everything. He still hasn't messaged me back. Now, probably me texting him on Xbox Live instead of his phone was probably a mistake, but there you go. Look, great trailer. Advise anyone listening to the podcast to have a look. Got an amazing cast, like Jeff Bridges straight out of the newsroom. I see Kate Mara, Jessica Chastain, and a ton of other actors. I'm trying to think here. Kirsten Wiig, Matt Damon, Mackenzie Davis, who's obviously now in *Halt and Catch Fire*, Sean Bean, Donald Glover from Community's there. I mean, amazing. Cheetal Ejiofor, which I can never pronounce correctly. I did it. Naomi Scott, I see on the cast list. I can only presume she is related to her dad, the director, and a whole bunch of people. It's Ridley Scott. He's great. It's an amazing film.
Yeah, maybe I can fill in a few facts anyway.
Sure.
So, rather than speculation, so The Martian, the book, is it's written by this guy who's a real kind of fan of actual NASA technical stuff. So he knows all of the, how much a CO2 scrubber can take carbon dioxide out of the air in an hour, how long it'll last, what the lifetime is of a O2 tank, how much potatoes you can grow in an acre of habitat, all this kind of stuff.
So he's a bit like a Tom Clancy in a different field.
Exactly, yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
So The Martian is, if a guy was on a mission to Mars, in reality, like not like a Hollywood version where, they just turn the ship around. No, the ship is gone. It can't be turned around. It's, in space, you would have to use so much fuel to get back. You wouldn't get away again. So the crew cannot rescue this dude. The next ship is going to land in 4 years' time, and he has 100 days worth of food. He then has 200 days worth of CO2 scrubbers. He has, 150 days worth of oxygen. He has 8 suits because there was 8 crew or whatever. He's all these different limitations, and you're going. In the book, at least, he is writing these diary entries.
Yeah, and sorry.
And he's just saying, okay, and he swears the whole time. He's like, I'm fucked. I'm fucked because of this, and if that doesn't get me, I'm fucked because of this, and if that doesn't get me, I'm fucked because of this, and fuck it all, fuck it. You're just going, this guy's funny, like, because he's like, I'm screwed. There's no way I can last 4 years.
And in fairness, you certainly, having not read the book, but you describing the book there, you get a sense of that. You certainly get a sense that, they're not going to Hollywood it. I mean, that is even mentioned in the trailer about, like, the details about what I have left and what I need to grow food and stuff like that. So there's that detail there, and that there is this kind of, I got to science the fuck out of this kind of thing in the trailer. So that the spirit that you kind of obviously got from the book seems to be replicated in, albeit the two-minute trailer. So that seems to bode well. You obviously enjoyed the book when you read it. Yeah?
Oh, the book it was the science fiction book of the year last year.
Yeah.
The other thing to mention as well is the Andy Weir story is just as interesting. So Andy Weir is this, you know, NASA nerd guy who wrote a book on what would actually happen if someone was stuck on Mars. And he put it up on his website, and he told all his NASA nerd friends, and they all started reading it, and they told all their friends. So it was just up on his website for free. And all these people started reading it on his website. And a certain percentage of them went, listen, this is a pain in the ass to download from your website as a PDF and then read on a computer screen. Can you put it up on Amazon? So he then went and investigated how to put it on Amazon, put it up there for 99 cents and went, okay, it's 99 cents, dudes. If you want to read it over there, I mean, that's the least I can put it up for. 99 cents is the minimum price Amazon allows. So then it became a bestseller, like really quickly. And a traditional publisher picked it up. And then cut to 2-3 years later, and Matt Damon is in the lead in the movie version of it. Like, this is a real kind of completely, I forget what he was working at, but like, you know, going overnight success.
What you want to happen with some of your stuff, and who knows? I mean,
yeah, of course.
You're basing it on a similar model, effectively. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that his stuff, because of his knowledge, like, so I always go over what I can put into my books. So I'm a computer programmer. That's boring. There's no way you can write a book about computer programming that's interesting. But, you know, all the other stuff, you kind of go through what you know. Whereas this guy knew something and wrote a book about it just when Gravity had come out. And then Interstellar came out. And people are really interested in all this actual NASA science fiction. Like, not the Star Wars, Star Trek kind of stuff, which is fun. But what could actually happen? How could we actually get to Mars? How could we actually, you know, do all this stuff? And it was perfect timing, because then Hollywood goes, okay, what's a popular book right now that's realistic science fiction that we can bring out that'll be as popular as Gravity and Interstellar? So, yeah, real kudos to that guy.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. This goes about timing. And right now, that kind of slightly more realistic idea of sci-fi is in, and it may be that after December, Star Wars will kick back in that whole sort of fantasy kind of playfulness of it. But for the moment, this is the stuff people are interested in, and frankly, like, I'm looking forward to, you know, Star Wars when it comes out. I'm looking forward to James Bond when it comes out, etc. And that might feed into the Kingsman when we talk about that later. But equally, I look at The Martian and I go, wow. I mean, I really, really want to see this, you know. And this is this is a new thing. Like, you know, this isn't got the sequel, you know, advantages of having a sequel or having the lore of Star Wars. I'm hearing about this the first time, and already I'm going, I'm sold. I want 5 of these movies, you know, or I want this movie to be 3 hours long, and, you know, I just enjoy it for whatever it is. So, again, just so I think that's all we need to say about it. It looks great. Watch the trailer or don't watch the trailer. Take it from us. If you have agreed with any of our opinions on other stuff in the 15 or so other podcasts we've launched, if you're of a like-minded thing, I think we both like it. We finally agree on something, Simon. We're looking forward to this.
Well, the trailer, the movie will come out and we'll disagree.
You know, exactly. I think it's a retweet. It just got announced the 2nd of October on Twitter today, and I wonder if that's because it was originally a little bit later. But somebody, the publisher, kind of said, oh, we brought it forward or something like that, and I couldn't, whatever. So I actually think it's earlier. It's going to be at the 2nd of October. So we'll find it soon enough. Okay. And you know, again, it looks like a very interesting show. Trailers out on all the usual places. There's an article there on the Nerdist that I saw. But again, YouTube has all the relative trailers, and it looks fun. Or if you don't want to be spoiled by that, not that there's a huge amount of spoilers in the trailer, take it from us, it certainly looks very interesting.
I mean, the trailer only gives away the fact that he gets trapped on Mars, which you would need to know anyway going into it. I mean,
presumably it's the first 20 minutes of the setup, you know?
Yeah, I mean, from the looks of the trailer, so in the book, he's on Mars already trapped at the start of the book. Whereas from the looks of the trailer, they kind of have some training stuff or, you know,
mission goes
stuff or whatever on Earth before they go there.
Mission goes wrong type of thing. Yeah. It's a bit like Apollo 13 or whatever it was. It's 13, isn't it? Yeah. Apollo 13. I mean, I haven't rewatched that movie in a while, and actually, it's a really good movie. It really is. But I can't remember. But I suspect the there's a whole lead up in that film where they're still on Earth, they're planning the mission doesn't go, some people get left behind, obviously, for the moon mission, and then they get their chance in one of the subsequent missions. So actually, there's a big part of that movie which is on Earth before they take off and before disaster strikes. But actually, in memory, even if that does take 30 minutes before they're, you know,
I think it could even take an hour. I mean, Apollo 13 is a long movie. I think it's like.
And I hope this one is too, that they give it time, because it's not going to be a sequel type movie. So let's get it right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think Apollo 13 probably does have a 30 to an hour minute setup, and there may be something like that maybe in this movie. So we'll see. There's something definitely to look forward to that's new and isn't just a sequel like 90% of the movies that we're watching these days. Just moving on to a second piece of movie news. It's just to simply say, we've had to do this far too often this year, obviously, in the podcast. Christopher Lee passed away, but at the good old age of 93. He was an actor we all grew up with. I remember him originally, as a Dracula, the Hammer horror series. And then, later on in life, and he did a whole bunch of that type of stuff. But he also obviously was the man with the golden gun in one of the Bonds. Count Dooku in the Star Wars. I mean, what a career! Obviously,
Wicker Man is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
he's in.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings in the popular spheres. He had an amazing career, which, just the longevity of it. To me, he had a presence, and he had a presence on camera, but he also had this fantastic, voice and pathos in a way that, like, Ian McKellen has the same sort of thing as well. They just...
Well, it's like classically trained Shakespearean actors doing those kind of things. Patrick Stewart doing The Next Generation gave it a lot more weight as well.
So, again, that's sad news today. It's really passing away, but at the age of 93. And I suppose we think about it going forward. We'll remember working on anything. I doubt it, but I often wondered about when I heard the news today whether he was actually working on the set. But I just think the news is that he had some heart complications. But in any event, as I said, news we don't want to be bringing you, and that's sad passing of Christopher Lee. Moving on to something slightly downbeat from your point of view, because I'm going to switch up topics on this, but about another actor. I want to ask you about Daredevil Season 2 and the casting of The Punisher.
So when you sent this to me, I thought it was a new show about The Punisher.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I might watch that. No, it's a guy in the Daredevil series. I have no interest, so it doesn't matter. They could cast anyone. I wouldn't care.
No, and the only reason I wanted that, I agree, and I'm only doing this to antagonize you because clearly Daredevil did not push any of your buttons. But I do know that you were a fan of the Walking Dead TV series, the first season and maybe second season.
First 3, I'd say. Then after season 3, they really went off the rails.
Exactly. And Shane, the actor who played Shane in The Walking Dead, John Bernthal, has been cast as the Punisher. Frank.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, good actor. Frank Castle is always a good character.
Like if Daredevil, if it came out, what?
Will this redeem the show for you?
No. If Daredevil, if the news came out that in the first episode the Punisher shoots Daredevil in the face, then I'd watch the second season.
And it just
even then, like, it's the writers that count.
That actually would be sheer brilliance. If literally in the first season of Daredevil season 2, sheer brilliance for you because you didn't like it, if they literally shot Daredevil, and then from then on, the episode was like, episode 2, Daredevil, and it's scratched out, and it's just the Punisher for the rest of the season. Like, that would be fantastic stuff. Like, that'd be straight out of Kung Fury type of chronology.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. As I say, they could cast, like, I don't know, Nathan Fillion or Bruce Campbell or, someone that I really like. Wouldn't matter because the writing's crap.
Yeah.
Like, if the writing's bad, there's no saving the show. Like The Walking Dead, as you say, I love that show the first few seasons, but the writing got so bad that I just couldn't watch it. And I wanted to watch it. Like, I was a huge fan of zombie stuff. Now I'm kind of over the whole zombie thing at this stage.
Yeah, there's
But there's just been too much of it. But I really like that show, and I've read the comics, which I think Matthew borrowed. Matthew's read them all the way through as well. The comics are really depressing, but really well written. The TV show, the number one problem TV shows have, I think, is not staying true to the characters. Mm-hmm. So if you have a character who has been in the zombie apocalypse for a year or more, and then a zombie falls onto this netting, and that character then climbs onto the netting to try and wrestle the zombie or something, well, that's not being true to the character. That's just, you wanted some excitement in this episode, so you went against whatever the character was meant to know and just said, screw it. They jump onto the fence, and then they start wrestling a zombie. Because no one in this zombie apocalypse would be doing that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have survived a year. So that's where Walking Dead lost me, and that's where Daredevil lost me, and that's where a lot of shows lose me.
And ultimately, this actor is not going to change any of that because the writing's going to stay the same.
Yeah, I mean, you could take the best actors in the world and give them a shitty script. They're not going to be able to make it good. They can, some actors can kind of vamp it up. So they realize that the script is crap. So they start saying their lines in a funny way to kind of at least put a twist on it. Like, what's it called? The Boondock Saints. I don't know if you've seen that movie. So that's a terrible script. It has some moments of promise. But then the thing people like about it is Willem Dafoe going absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah,
like that movie. He realized it was a bad script.
Thing. I mean, that film has a huge following. Obviously, Norman Reedus did that as well.
Yeah, and Sean Patrick Harris, who I liked from Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But regardless of who the actors are, that's still a terrible movie. Like, it has its moments only because the actors realized how bad it was.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on from that as well. So we obviously, casting the Punisher is not going to change your mind so far, but I know that you'll always keep an open mind about these things. But to stay on Netflix, maybe on two topics, there was a bit of consternation. I know you have serious concerns about this, and in fact, the whole internet did have a bit of a wobber about this. And this is about Netflix in particular. Although you say HBO, I don't have
HBO Nordic.
Yeah.
So
put ads on onto their subscription service. Now, just talk to me about that. I mean, effectively, what Netflix came out and said was, and I know there's a few articles on there. You found an article from Cheat Sheet, but ultimately, the CEO of Netflix came out and sort of said, "Oh, look, there's never going to be ads on Netflix. We were experimenting with a few things here and there, and the only thing you're going to get is trailers of stuff on Netflix."
Yeah, but that's what he said. He said there's never going to be ads for third-party things.
Yeah,
there's going to be ads for what they have. So for me, that is just as bad. Like, I don't care what the ad's for. Don't show me ads. That's the reason why I'm paying the subscription, is so you don't show me ads.
Well, I think maybe if they were going to sneak it in, I think his declaration very much was to say no. I mean, I think obviously at the moment, Netflix at the moment are definitely changing up their UI on most of their devices. They're trying to have a uniform UI, and certainly I know when the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt came onto Netflix, there was almost a rolling advertising on the menu of my Xbox, right? And actually, what's weird is they have, like, on Sense8 on the tile, it's a movable tile like a GIF. So they're trying to have stuff which kind of stands out to the crowd. And I suppose, like you say, if the Netflix series have GIFs and everything else is just a standard tile because they want to kind of move you towards their thing, you might go, well, it's kind of advertising, but I don't object to that. But where does the line cross? Also, I heard some rumor where they may only have ads at the end, like for credits,
Well, so
we don't want paying for it.
So I'll say what happened on HBO Nordic on Monday anyway.
Sure.
So we put on Game of Thrones, and there was I don't know, probably a minute-long ad for True Detective, the season 2 that's coming up.
Unskippable, was it?
Huh?
Was it unskippable? Like no skipping?
Unskippable, yeah. You can't. There's no option to get rid of it. You can't say I don't want to see ads for your stupid shows. You can't say I already know about True Detective. F off. No, you have to watch the ad.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that at all.
So, from what I understand, Netflix is planning on doing the same, having trailers essentially before you watch the show. Now, if they gave me an option that said, hey, how often would you like to see trailers of our other shows in front of your shows? And one of the options was never.
Yeah.
I would be fine with that, because I would probably set it to something other than never. I might say, hey, every 5th episode, show me a trailer or something for something you think I might like. That would be fine. But not giving me an option makes me pissed off, because then I'm going, no, I'm paying you to give me the option. If you're not going to give me the option, like BBC and RTE, and all, RTE is different. They show all kinds of ads. But NRK over here, they're state-sponsored channels, and they show ads for themselves. And I think they shouldn't be allowed to show ads for themselves. It should be an optional thing. Like, if you want to see a trailer for their new shows, you should be allowed to opt in and say, yes, I'll watch a trailer for your new shows. Because I'd like to find out about some obscure show I haven't heard about yet.
I mean, the truth is, yeah, people like you and I probably see this news before it even comes on. Like, so for instance, I'll know that you and I spotted, sorry, in fairness, Simon, you were the one who spotted Sense8 before anyone knew about it. We talked about it in this show weeks ago. And in fact, prior to it coming on to Netflix, like last week, I've been telling other people about it. You know, I've been sort of saying, you know, we've been talking about the show on our podcast, and, you know, maybe this will be terrible, maybe it'll be good. But like, if you're looking for something new, it's going to dump 13 episodes or 12 episodes this Friday. So, you know, and even Grace and Frankie, like, you know, we heard about it well before the Twitter campaign, you know, started going. But I agree with you. I mean, I don't know about this. I actually have no difficulty if they have a menu where the top part of it is like got a YouTube kind of ads rolling while you're flicking through tiles. I don't find that hugely objectionable. Although some people would, because they'll say that's my bandwidth, and I don't want to be playing videos.
Well, if it said, so the way their UI seems to be changing is that they've got recommendations and stuff.
Yeah.
Around the things that but when you're browsing episodes, not when you're watching.
Yeah.
So they got stuff around, and you can kind of go, oh, this show is quite like this show. And you can kind of, maybe if they had a thing there that said, hey, watch a trailer or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what they have. They have tiles and they have videos, right? But occasionally I think they have stuff that does just play, right? So they've kind of 3. And so some are just like, as you say, your tiles are at the bottom and you're flicking through them. But up at the top part, like in the, if you like, the big part, is actually like, oh, Kimmy Schmidt, right? And occasionally that is just, as you say, just a picture with a bit of description about what the new show is. Occasionally it's a description with a click the thing to the trailer. But occasionally I turned it on one time and it just seemed to play a video. Now, admittedly, I could continue scrolling on my tiles. And the way the UI is, I mean, the one thing I don't like about Netflix is I'm not mad about their UI. I actually think Apple TV have a very good Netflix UI, but although they may have changed it now to what the current UI was, but because it was the full screen of tiles, right? But and you had to click in to get the information each time. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I just think the one advantage to these shows are, and one of the reasons why we should be paying for Netflix as opposed to stealing it off the internet where it's all ad-free and it's all edited for you, right? Yeah. Is that you have Netflix and you don't have to have any of that bother. And that actually, if you want to watch a show, and especially if you're marathoning a show, like back in the way we used to watch TV when we were younger, where you watch terrestrial TV and you'd watch whatever, One Tree Hill or The OC or Dawson's Creek or some cool show like, Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, I can't even remember it. At that stage, we didn't care that every 15 minutes there was a 5-minute ad followed by whatever.
Oh, but there wasn't.
What?
You don't realize. Next Generation, there used to be 10 minutes of ads for 50 minutes of show. It's been reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced and reduced since then. So in America at the time, they were showing 40 minutes of show for 20 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
And the American audiences, when they got the DVDs, the bits that were before the credits and after the credits, the prologue and the epilogue,
sure,
that we saw on TV, they didn't see So they bought the DVDs and said, hey, they filmed bonus footage for the DVDs. And the rest of the world went, no, you suckers, you watch 10 minutes of extra ads because your channels are crap.
It's very funny that you're right about that. And I've noted that's right, that even when we were younger, all these shows are designed for, like, as you say, 4 ads every 15 minutes, right, to make it into a 60-minute show. But probably when we were watching it on RTE, because it was RTE and it probably couldn't sell ads, it probably could only do 2 instead of the 4 or whatever. You know, is that your memory of it? I think that, yeah. Well,
so there was 5 minutes of ads. They'd show them twice in the hour.
Yeah.
And then it started being every 20 minutes, and then it started being every 15 minutes, and now it's every, like, they show that some channels in Ireland. I've watched TV when I've been over again in Ireland,
sure,
and I cannot stand it. Yeah. Because they show the credits for the show and then have an ad. Yeah, I haven't even watched anything yet. That's the credits.
Because Americans, whatever. I mean, traditionally now, most shows, like even on Sky, you know, it's like an hour-long show, which is really 40 minutes, right? You all know, okay, True Detective is slightly different because it could be up to 52 minutes, whatever. But ultimately, those shows are designed that every 15 minutes there's an ad for however long. And basically, for the general theme for a 40-minute or 42-minute show is we have 20 minutes to suck in here. 20 minutes is 4 by 5.
But no, but sorry to interrupt again, but it was 40 minutes when Next Generation was on 20 years ago. It's now 25 minutes to 30 minutes for an hour-long show and 16 minutes for a half-hour show. Like the creators of some comedy shows were complaining, and they said people don't realize that if you go back 20 years, you had 25 minutes to do a comedy episode. Now you have 16. Like there's 16 minutes to do an entire arc of whatever's going to happen in the show.
How I Met Your Mother's a half-hour show, right? And in fact, you know, it's really 22 minutes, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's quite a popular and old show, so they push it out. Like the shows in Norway, because they show less ads on Norwegian TV than they do in Ireland and way less than America, are 20 minutes. Yeah. Like a half-hour comedy is a 20-minute show on Norwegian TV. And even then, I'm like, yeah, no, I'll watch Netflix. I'll wait until it comes on Netflix because I don't want any ads. That's the whole point. I don't like ads.
So one thing about this is that certainly the internet reacted very quickly. And they came out very quickly and said, no, we're just, this is an experiment. A few things went on, you know, a few things played that they couldn't have played. I agree. They may have been dipping the toe to see what the reaction is. And the important thing now is that, you know, a lot of
they haven't ruled it out. That's the thing. Well, so they said third-party ads. They did not say their own ads. They're going to show their own ads. They've already committed to that. So they're saying, we're going to show you trailers from shows on Netflix. So here's what I see happening. With HBO Nordic and maybe HBO Go, I don't know, and Netflix start showing trailers for the shows that are on Netflix. So you're watching Sense8 and you get a trailer for Between, for instance. Then they start going in a year's time or 2 years' time, they start going, okay, advertisers, you have a show on Netflix. Would you like to promote it so that we show it in front of more episodes of our shows? Because people are now used to having trailers in front of every single episode they want to watch. So they start selling ad time for things that are on Netflix. That's how I'd see it happening.
No, I agree. I mean, you're absolutely right. He says no advertising, read Hastings, no advertising coming onto Netflix, period. Just adding relevant, cool trailers for other Netflix contacts you're likely to
That is advertising.
That is. It makes it limited to their own shows. And actually, I've no difficulty with that, but it has to be on their main screen, and it cannot be, once you press the word, when you say play, or, you know, once you select episode 3 or episode whatever, then it's like, right, that's it, I'm watching this. And to be honest, they're going to have to do this because, you know, people are going to be watching shows now wearing Oculus Rifts or fucking, you know, something else. The truth is people, you know, whatever is going on in the background, you know, whilst you're selecting your shows, I actually don't have a problem with that because some of the content might be something you want to shouting out at you. Part of the whole UI that you have while you search through the tiles is in fact already advertising for you because it's actually created with an algorithm that you'd be far more familiar with, trying to show you the stuff that's more relevant to you, having regard to taste. Now, whether you agree with their algorithm or not, in terms of does it suit my taste, who knows? But it is actually already advertising to you in a very subtle way in terms of trying to say, oh,
but okay, I'd say it's the difference between Amazon and Apple Books, for instance.
Yeah.
So Amazon, their algorithm is based on what is this person most likely to want to read. Apple Books is based on who has paid us money to advertise these books on the front page.
Sure.
So regardless of what you like, Apple Books is going to show you the same bestsellers, whatever.
And the reason they can do that without, as you say, bias by virtue of advertising is because you're paying the same amount of money for the entire service. So there's no reason for them to try and placate the content creators. It's something to watch out for. I mean, everyone here on this anyone listening to this podcast or watching the video, this is something that if it happens again, whether it be on Netflix or some other services that you're subscribing to, people have to go back. Now, the question is this, and it's the last thing I'll pose with you. The internet can't have it their own way. Neither can Netflix. But if it comes to a situation where it's like, well, look, guys, we can't afford to keep giving you this great content anymore without charging you more, well, then maybe we have to accept, well, you know, the service is going to cost more.
But so if you said to me, so Spotify, for instance, you've got the free version of Spotify with ads on it, and you've got the subscription. So I have a paid subscription. If you said to me, listen, Netflix, which costs me, I don't know, 80 kroner a month, which is like $10 or whatever, $12 maybe. If they said to me, okay, it's not going to cost 80 kroner, it's going to cost 160 kroner, like double what it's costing me today. But we'll have way better content, and we won't ever show you any ads, including trailers for our own shows. I go, yeah, sure, sign me up. Like if they said, okay, we're going to have Hannibal that's premiering soon. We're going to have the episodes the day after they come out in the States. I go, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll pay double.
Absolutely, because fundamentally what we all really want is to say to Netflix, if you can make me the only person I'm paying for, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
To be honest, what everyone really wants is for Netflix to go into the broadband business as well. Because honestly, they're not that big yet. But I mean, if they did, like, and they're obviously, they're widening the Netflix, as I said to you before in previous podcasts, I mean, I didn't even realize that they hadn't expanded to places in Europe such as France and Germany until very recently, and now they're expanding even further to Portugal and further on. But I mean, and they're just not that big a company in comparison to much bigger companies such as, you know,
well, Google we're going to do Apple.
But I mean, if they went into the broadband business together with their package, I mean, they would then be competing directly with Sky or the Comcast.
Yeah, but it's a completely different kind of thing. I mean, then
it's not their business. But if they did,
yeah, if they combined though with Google, so Google are doing broadband in America, fiber optic broadband. So if Netflix went into a deal with Google and said, okay, anywhere you've got fiber optics, we'll combine with that and we'll sell a package that says Netflix and fiber optic internet at a discount.
Yeah,
that would be a great deal for both of them, I think.
Absolutely, and it'd be a great selling point for Google to you know to sort of sell in its thing. So we sell you Google broadband for 40 euros a month, and full stop on its own. Netflix is normally 10 quid a month. I mean, it's 7 quid here, euros or whatever. But it's 7 quid a month. We're giving it to you for 5, so 45 for the whole package. If you take the two together, you're going, this is brilliant. And Netflix don't lose out; they get their full money. It's just being subsidized by Google, effectively, the different discount.
I mean, the television channels or the television cable providers are scrambling now because Netflix has been out for maybe 2 years, year and a half, maybe here. HBO Nordic the same. And people are beginning to realize, what the hell am I paying 600 kroner for when I could pay 80 kroner and get all the shows that I can possibly watch? Like, as we said last week, like, there's so many shows coming out on Netflix, you can't even keep up with them. Why the hell would you pay for a cable service at that stage?
I mean, it's all going to come down to, we've talked about this before, we're going to finish off this topic, but it's all coming down to, the reality here is, if internet provision was not linked to certain things, certainly cable services would be in serious difficulty. And that is why, of course, the cable and the satellite guys have gotten into the internet business at the same time. And in fact, a lot of Sky's here in Europe's plan includes a demand service which requires the internet. And it's all kind of, buy the internet from us too, and then it'll work simpatico with our satellite service. But okay, we're going to move on a little bit more because we're coming into a week of computer E3 announcements, Expo 3, and it's going to be a different E3 this year going forward. A lot of presence for PC gaming, which I know you, as the PC master race advocate, have some interest in. Oculus had a conference or a presentation today. They've just announced they've gone into some small partnership with Microsoft to provide the Oculus Rift with a Microsoft wireless controller. They themselves have announced they have their own almost wristband controllers that are coming into the future. They didn't announce a price for the Oculus Rift, but again, they showed some games. Insomniac Games showed some stuff. They looked at Eve Valkyrie and stuff like that coming forward. They're saying they're going to release Oculus Rift in Q1 of 2016. And there's some interesting thing going on there. That there's going to be a lot of VR and AR presence probably in E3 in the following week. Stuff is all starting from the conference from Monday onwards for the next week. Bethesda, as a software publisher for games, have their own conference. Square Enix have their own conference. Microsoft, Sony have their own conference. There'll probably be a Nintendo Direct next week as well. A lot of games have been teased or semi-announced, which we'll get further information on next week, starting in the conferences on Monday. There's going to be a whole bomb of game information next week. Fallout 4 has effectively been confirmed, and it probably will come out this year. Again, just want to turn to you. Obviously, I'm a bit of a Microsoft fanboy, but what are you looking forward to from the PC side of the gaming, and the fact that the PC are going to have their own conference, in which Phil Spencer, by all accounts, is going to have some time on the PC conference side, obviously announcing something to do with Windows 10, which should be finalized by the 29th of July. What games are you looking forward to, and what announcements, if any?
So I don't really follow E3, so I was kind of going, okay, so there's not much I can say about it. The only thing, I was reading a little article and they said maybe Valve. So Valve are going to announce their Steam boxes, which is interesting because that's essentially going to kill the consoles, I think. Like,
but you have, well, yeah, perhaps, but they've taken a long time with the Steam boxes.
Yeah, granted, yeah. So essentially, you're talking about for the same kind of price, you could have a PC instead of having a console. And PCs obviously can do a lot more. You could use it as a word processor or as an email thing or whatever, the things that console can't necessarily do.
Well, can I just because I want to ask you about this, because I wonder, like, they're trying to sell that too. In many respects, I think they're trying to sell that to people like you. And I'm not sure, but one of the...
No, definitely not for people like me.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, but my understanding is, having seen, and again, all of these things are rumors, and I agree with you. I think Valve will be an interesting conference because, instead of all this speculation and rumor, we actually might get some definitive information, because some of the stuff I've seen in relation to these boxes are, that there was a number of SKUs. So it's like, you can get a Steam box at $4.99, which is obviously pitched at a console price. But then it was going up to 1,200, whatever, And one of that falls between two stools, because if you're going to do that where there's multiple SKUs, then to be honest, you should just be selling a gaming PC, because
so the problem that console gamers have with PCs is it's very complicated, and I don't understand the hardware. I like to game in my living room, and I don't want a PC being really noisy in my living room. I like to sit on my couch and use a gamepad. I don't want to have to install lots of crap and have driver problems and crashing. Those are essentially the problems that console gamers have with PC gaming.
Yeah.
So the point of these Steam boxes is these are predefined hardware, which they have run against. So the problem with PC development as a game on games is you have to test against every kind of possible hardware, and maybe you don't test against everything, so therefore you get bugs and you get things crashing. You get that on consoles anyway, but that's just because developers are lazy. But the point is, if they have predefined PCs, they can go, okay, well, you buy these, as a developer, you buy these 3 SKUs or 10 SKUs or whatever it is, test on them, and all the Steam boxes have been tested. Like then it's predefined hardware. They run quietly. They don't have a noisy fan in them. They run the same as a console does. They have a UI which Valve actually developed a year and a half or 2 years ago, called Big Screen, I think, or yeah, that you can easily. It's tiles. It's the same as you were saying about the Apple Store, that you can easily navigate. The point of the SKUs is this is a Steam box. If you buy it, you can run these games on medium settings. If you buy this one, you can run these games on high settings. If you buy this one, you can run these games on extremely high settings. Like it's trying to simplify it for consolers to say, listen, you want PC because
I do agree as well that some of the problems, the perceptions of PC gaming also is historic, in that a lot of the problems that people talk about actually aren't as big a problem as they were, say, a number of years ago, you know?
The driver thing hasn't happened for 10 years, but consolers still say, oh, it crashes all the time. No,
I'm concerned because, funnily enough, the more that I've gotten, particularly kind of in the last year, the more I've gotten back into sort of, you know, even just reading about this sort of gaming world and all these new games and the technology, the more even I've realized that, you know, I love having my Xbox One and all that stuff. But even I'm more interested in getting back into having, you know, a decent PC that could run certain things. Because frankly, the PC scene at the moment has some of the most exciting games. So if you look at Oculus, you know, you need a beefy PC. No PS4 or Xbox One are going to run natively any sort of Oculus Rift stuff. We'll see what happens with Sony's Morpheus. We'll see how successful that is. But if you're going to want to play Star Citizen whenever it launches, or you want to play Eve Valkyrie with Oculus Rift and all these sort of fantastical things, again, you're going to pay a hefty price for that. But that's, to be honest, that's what PC gaming is all about, which is, you know, you're an enthusiast. You're not going to buy, you know, you're either going to spend loads of wads on it, or you're going to spend some money on it. And hopefully every so often you'll upgrade, and eventually your Oculus Rift set will be cheaper and you'll buy one and you'll get some of the experience and you build your rig up and you do X, Y, and Z. That's what some people actually thought half the fun is that, you know. But there's certainly a lot of very good games coming out in the PC. Let's face it now, the consoles have all got PC architecture. They don't even have fancy, weird graphics chips anymore, which would make them quite, you know, console specific. So the truth is they're all the games are being developed, like The Division, you know, even Fable Legends, which is going to be on Xbox One and crossplay with PC. Unreal and Unity are the engines being used. They're all PC engines. You know, I've been looking a lot at the Surface and thinking, I wonder if I got a really beefy Surface, or maybe the new Surface when it comes out, you know, whether or not this would be a good option. You know, but anyway.
Well, it's because Microsoft and Sony see each other as the rivals. So Microsoft will pay to have an Xbox exclusive, and a developer might say, hey, can it be Xbox and PC? And the Microsoft will go, yeah, sure, okay, fine. And Sony the same. And because it's developed on, essentially, they're developed on PCs anyway. They were developed on PCs in the last generation. It's just they had strange code that they had to have for PS3. Xbox 360 was just a PC anyway. So they're already developed on PCs, and they have their higher resolution assets and everything on the PC. So all they need to do is click export and it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's more difficult than that, but joking aside, you're absolutely right. And I also think Microsoft as well, because they're in this huge war with Sony, are actually looking to try and expand their Windows 10 gaming system, which failed before when they did Windows Live. But I think they're looking at it now and saying, we want to be offering more to people. We don't have a Sony Vita where we can offer remote play or gimmicky play like that. Here's the situation. Maybe we can say to somebody, if you buy this Xbox One game and you download it, you also get a free copy of a PC if you've got, you know, it also works on your PC in Windows 10, right? So one, it does it gets people to upgrade to Windows 10, which is one of their massive big things at the moment. And secondly, they go, well, we're not giving away anything for free here. They own the game. We're just letting them play it on a PC too with the equivalent specs on if they have a PC as well. And we get a lot of kudos for that. We also allow PC players to play with Xbox. And it makes for good PR, which is 90% of the war now is won on who's cool, who's having the most open sort of conversation about with gamers.
But all the speculation when this generation came out, Xbox One and PS4, was, is this the last generation of consoles? Because at this stage, with the Steam boxes, that's essentially a console killer. Because they're saying the next generation of consoles they predicted wouldn't come out for 10 years from the launch. So there's maybe 8 years of this generation of consoles.
They say that, and the Wii U is having disastrous sales. I mean,
the Wii U's. Nintendo may come out with a new console in a few years' time.
I mean, but the point is that the Xbox One and the PS4 came into that same environment, and everyone said, well, it's just not going to be as good as 360 and PS3 days. And they're both outselling. I mean, Sony is just selling these things as if they were like for free. But even still, I mean, Xbox is still outselling its 360 days, which obviously was a huge success for them. It's very early days for them, but it doesn't look like it's going to peter out. Look, we'll see what happens. Let's not go into that. Let's kind of finish off the E3 kind of thing, which on this basis. I mean, there's a lot of games. Microsoft have got an timed exclusive, whatever that means, in relation to Rise of the Tomb Raider. Looks like a good game. The reboot was very good. I'm looking forward to see what they have for that. Halo series. I never played the Halo series, and I bought the Master Chief Collection. I know there's a lot of problems with multiplayer, but I didn't really buy it for multiplayer because I'd never really played the games. And I really enjoyed the campaigns, which were which didn't have those problems. The campaigns were really good fun. I know when you were over here in Ireland, I was messing around with some of that with Robert. Halo 5 looks amazing, and I really do hope that they actually launch it on Windows PC, because it will force you to upgrade to Windows 10, which I know you don't want.
It won't happen, though.
Just get another PC. Get a PC that you'll return, which will be like never connected to the internet. Anyway,
but like Halo 1 didn't come out for 5 years on PC. Like,
yeah,
they don't like doing that with Halo, because Halo is the thing that sells consoles.
They may only sell it to Windows, Xbox on Windows 10. Like, you'd have to purchase it.
Not even then. Like, I don't know. When Vista came out, Microsoft was saying, this is the gamer's PC. We care about games now on PC.
I know, but I mean, let's not get back onto Microsoft or any big companies. It's easy to say, like, these guys make mistakes. I also think as well, that's huge speculation on my part. They haven't announced anything about Halo. Halo may well be kept on Xbox just because it needs to have something that's exclusive to themselves.
Well, exactly.
But Fable Legends will be cross-play, and it's free to play. So there you go. Upgrade to Windows 10. We can be playing games whilst doing this podcast. I'm looking forward to some of that. There'll be interesting. There'll be a lot of interesting stuff, I think, this time around. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of stuff that'll surprise us, as opposed to the kind of what's going into these conferences. I'll be interested to see what Sony are going to show their Uncharted collection. It'd be interesting to see how that's getting on. Forza series, which is a car racing series. Microsoft are going to lead with that.
I never understood that. New versions of a car racing series. Like,
yeah.
I have a car racing game from like 7 years ago, and that's all I need, because if I want to do car racing, they're all the same.
Forza is very, very good. Like, I mean, it's a really good series. And Forza Horizon, they alternate every year. Is whatever. Maybe you don't need to buy it every second year or whatever.
But that's the one where they sold the car for $100 or whatever in game.
No.
No, is that a different one?
I mean, sure that there's stuff like that, but like, no. I mean, I think there was complaints about Forza 5 when it originally launched at the console launch about microtransactions. But you don't have to buy these cars, and
but it's nickel and diming the customer.
Well, I don't think they really did that, really, to be honest. Although there were some microtransactions, but they did blow back on that. For instance, in Forza 6, which is being released sometime in October, the game starts with 450 cars.
Exactly. Why isn't there more?
Anyway, we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's very unique at their own things. There's obviously a King's Quest. You remember those games we used to play? They're redoing that this year, the old Sierra game sort of stuff. And there's some stuff on YouTube about that I'd invite you to check out, because the redone, obviously I've only seen trailers, but they're redoing King's Quest with the blessing of the original creators. It looks interesting. And I wonder if anyone's going to grab an exclusive in respect to that.
No, that'll be a PC centric game.
I
I
think
mean,
consoles as
you
well.
couldn't play that with a console controller. A point and click
You can
adventure.
do it with consoles, definitely. But anyway, okay, there's some interesting stuff. We'll have a lot to talk about, I think, after next week. Next Thursday, we'll have seen quite a lot from E3. I'll send you on some videos. Okay, we're going to get back to, let's talk about Sense8. I want to watch this show. It's on my list to watch on Netflix. Sense8, you've watched the first 2 episodes. I don't want any spoilers for anyone watching. We're not going to spoil the show, but how did you find it so far? What's the sort of premise straight off? To me, that's a very. I wanted to stay away from trailers. It looked kind of a bit like Heroes, a bit like Lost. What's it like? It looked a bit.
The premise of it is you got 8 people all across the world in all different countries, all different kinds of people, and it's almost like they have multiple personality disorder. Where they can kind of I haven't got that far into it since I'm only 2 episodes in. At the moment, all they can do is kind of sense each other, and kind of they know, so they think they're hallucinating. They all think they've got schizophrenia, basically. But from what I understand, then it's slowly they begin to understand that there are actual people there. I haven't got to that point yet. It's so far it's very good. The start was a bit shaky, like the first 5 minutes maybe. It was really kind of shonky, and I was going, "Oh my god, this is going to be terrible." And then it kind of turned it around and got good. But the first 5 minutes is with Daryl Hannah in it, and it just seemed very kind of bad TV showish. And then once she was gone. Out of the once they switched to a different person, it was like, oh, this is quite good actually.
So I can take from it that they're switching through characters, and you're kind of seeing their experience, whatever the show's about.
Yeah, exactly.
And does it work? I mean, does it have a right pace? Something like a show like that needs a bit of pacing, so it needs to be like spend the right, not too short, not too long, on the character before the switch. Is it like that? Is that important to the episode?
Yeah. So the first 2 episodes so far, they're dealing with drama in their own lives, so they haven't really. They think they
haven't worked out
they haven't worked out what's going on. Yeah. And they all have interesting drama, which is like realistic things happening. So there's an Indian girl who's going to have to marry someone she doesn't love because of it's an arranged marriage. There's a transgender woman who her mother doesn't approve of her being transgender and keeps calling her Michael instead of I forget what her name is, Joni or Laurie or something, which is obviously the Wachowskis, as you probably know, one of them is transgender. So that I really liked because it's obviously a very personal story. Okay. And I liked the fact that this is obviously something that's got a lot of truth to it. Like it's obviously as she's lived this, she obviously knows a lot about it, so it's very interesting to see that point of view.
Just on that, I mean, did you ever watch the show, which I think lasted 2 seasons, Touch, with Kiefer Sutherland?
No.
Okay, it's some of it. I don't know. Just from I haven't watched this show yet, but just some of what you're describing just reminds me of the opening episode of Touch, which is about Kiefer Sutherland has this child who's kind of has his special abilities, but he's you could think the child it has difficulties or doesn't understands it, but he seems to have a connection to the world. He can't speak, but etc. But he seems to feel or understand things, and kind of has this mystical kind of thing. And it was an interesting show that didn't really work. But anyway, just moving on to that. Except for the schlocky first 5 minutes, acting wise, are everyone putting in a decent performance? Are you happy so far?
Yeah, I mean all of the actors are really good. Like it's since it's 8 characters, like they all have to kind of pull their own weight, and they're all in completely different countries. I don't think there are any. Like there's one in the US, one in the UK, one in India, one in, they're all over the place, and they're all kind of have their own story. So if any of them were, not competent, it would really stick out, but they all do a really good job. I think so far the kind of ones that stick out for me at least are the cop played by the guy who was in SGU, which I can look up, I guess. But that may be just because I loved SGU, Stargate Universe. That was a great show. Brian J. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He was great in Stargate Universe as kind of a soldier guy, and now he's a cop. So, so he's really good. And then as I say, the transgender woman is very good. Like it's about, I would say that maybe it sticks out because she's kind of such a personal story, obviously. But it seemed to me like there was a lot of concentration on that story in the first 2 episodes. And that, I think, is probably the most interesting of the stories as well.
Well, that's good. So far, you're enjoying it, and you're going to keep up with that show, until it's great or bad, and then you'll tell me. I just briefly going to sort of trying to wrap up the show, but we saw a trailer for a film with Owen Wilson and Pierce Brosnan, who's always great, called No Escape. It's on YouTube. It kind of
it looks terrifying.
Yeah,
because it looks like something that could happen. You go on holidays in Thailand or somewhere, and a war breaks out, and you're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of reminds me, except it's not the same. But that film, which is a great film with Ewan McGregor and
Last King of Scotland.
No, it's a good film, but no, Ewan McGregor, The Impossible, which is a tourist family in Thailand caught in the destruction of the 2004 Indian tsunami. The only difference is, so they're all off on holiday, this kind of pleasant couple. Obviously, Ewan McGregor's the dad, and Naomi Watts is the mom, who's brilliant in it. It's a really good film if you get a chance to have a look at it. And effectively, the tsunami comes in, and the family gets separated, but obviously they try and find each other and try and make their way home. And it's a terrifying film. There's no real. The only thing the reason I use this as an example is it's similar. The premise is set out in the YouTube trailer, which is out there. I recommend, and we have a look at it. And instead of a tsunami or some natural disaster, clearly some sort of conflict erupts in this place. I'm not exactly sure. Was it China, or is it Japan, or was it some Asian country? I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Oh, where the tsunami was. Oh, I can't even remember.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's got Pierce Brosnan, who's still still can do it. Lake Bell is in it as well. Owen Wilson. Anyway, the kind of plot of it says, in their new overseas home, an American family soon find themselves caught in the middle of a coup, and they frantically look for a safe escape in an environment where foreigners are being immediately executed. So
it reminded me a little of Hotel Rwanda. Obviously, Hotel Rwanda is based on a true story.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing, like terrifying, like just some guy with a machete or an AK-47 just decide to kill you all.
Yeah, I mean, certainly looks interesting. Pierce Brosnan always worth a watch, and fair play to him. He's just cracking out that career, and he's been very, very good, actually. I think he's going to have a renaissance, a bit like Liam Neeson. I genuinely do. Maybe this will be like his Taken movie, and he'll kind of go on and do.
He's never really gone away, I think, Pierce Brosnan.
No, but I just think he's just been consistently good. When you consider maybe where he all started out and stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean, I think he just doesn't have maybe as much range at the moment. He's playing like the Matador, I'd say, would be quite a similar role to what he's doing in this. Like, I don't know that I've seen him kind of do anything where I've gone, holy crap. That's
called Survivor with Mila Jovovich, and it kind of looks like, he's on the front cover with her, and he's got like a silencer gun pointed upwards. A foreign service officer in London tries to prevent a terrorist attack. It's like, did you play that role before, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Ever since Remington Steele.
Yeah, Remington Steele, exactly. That's what I was thinking of, and he was very good in that. Okay, so trailer for No Escape, saw that on YouTube. Certainly looks interesting. Maybe it's a cut above. As well as that, there's a film out that I hadn't even planned to talk about. Lake Bell obviously wrote and is starring in a film with Simon Pegg called Man Up, which looks like an interesting, half-decent romantic comedy, and I know they're pushing that big time at the moment. And if I suppose that's something to mention, it's thereabouts. I haven't seen much with it. I probably will go and see it at some stage, and therefore I'm staying away from spoilers. You saw before we talk about Game of Thrones, we'll finish up the episode talking about this week's Game of Thrones. You also saw this week Kingsman: Secret Service.
Which I would recommend everyone just instantly go and watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked a bit too much at the top of the show about this young kid in it and Colin Firth as well. It got a huge amount of positive reviews when it came out initially, and it's meant to be a very decent film. I mean, that's it. Who else is in it? Is Jude Law in it as well?
No, you think you're Spy.
Spy.
No, Samuel L. Jackson's in it as the baddie. Mark Strong's in it. Like, it's anyway, to give the kind of the plot. So if you think of the Roger Moore James Bonds, it's kind of that if they had Matrix level action scenes in it. So like all of the kind of witty banter that Roger Moore brought to James Bond, but then whenever shit goes down, it's suddenly like Matrix level action scenes with body parts going flying and all that kind of stuff. And there is, I wrote a review on my blog, but there's a scene in it with Colin Firth that I think is going to be copied over and over and over. You know the way the Matrix, when they did their bullet time, every movie for 5 years or 10 years copied bullet time. People are going to watch this action scene with Colin Firth and copy it over and over and over and over and over for every single movie from then on, because it's just amazingly shot.
Okay, well, you heard it here first. Go and watch the movie. I'm not even going to ask you to describe it to me because I want to actually just go and watch the film. I haven't seen it either. Definitely something to see before the year is up for me, and even earlier than that. Okay, we're going to get on to the last topic of the show. We often start this show talking about it. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones. It's episode 9 of season 5. The Dance of Dragons. I think on my notes here I've said one CGI ending too far.
So the CGI was terrible, obviously.
Listening to the show, we're going to spoil what just happened in last week's Game of Thrones. The finale is coming up this Sunday in America. It'll be sort of, actually they're playing it, they're simulcasting it here in Europe at 2 a.m. on Sky, but obviously it's replayed at a proper time on Mondays. But obviously the penultimate or the second to last episode just aired, The Dance of the Dragons. We had a great episode the week previously. I still think this is a very good episode.
I enjoyed it. Like, episode 7 was atrocious. And then
over the top.
Huh?
The last 5 minutes just went a little over the top.
Well, the last 5 minutes was a standard TV show.
Yeah.
So normally, I've said this before, normally Game of Thrones is better than a standard TV show. Like, as we said, spoilers. Like the bit where the little girl is being taken to the pyre. Stannis is watching her. Any other TV show on TV, he would walk up, cut Melisandre's head off, and rescue his daughter. But Game of Thrones is like, no, this isn't every other TV show. This is a different TV show. But Heidi and I were watching where Daenerys gets cornered in the middle of the stadium, and I said, oh, here comes the dragon. Like, I knew what was going to happen. I knew they weren't going to be killed because it's Tyrion and Daenerys. So there was no chance of them being killed. So I knew the only thing that could rescue them was the dragon.
Yeah, because we knew why were we shown the dragon 2 or 3 weeks back when they're reminding
us that Drogon is out there, which is a shitty name for a dragon, by the way. Don't call your dragon Drogon. That's stupid.
I call my dragon Drogon. But no, totally. It's interesting about Stannis' daughter. Her name is Syrian, or what was her name?
Sansa's daughter?
Huh?
Stannis? Stannis, you mean?
Yeah, Stannis' daughter. Yeah.
I think you said Sansa.
No, I did not.
Sansa's a daughter? No. That was quick.
Yeah, exactly. No, Stannis' daughter, I forget her name. Huge amount of reaction about that again. And it's like, guys, this is like the Sansa situation.
Oh, I mean...
You knew this was going to happen 2 weeks ago. Melisandre, whatever her name is. Melisandre? She said, we have to do this, and he said no. There was a reason why we were party to that conversation and him saying no. Because at some stage he was going to have to rethink about that decision again. That's the reason we saw it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You know?
Well, so someone, the writer, I forget whether it was Weiss or who it was. Anyway, the writer said, listen, when we first see Stannis in the show in season 1 or 2, he's burning people alive because they refuse to believe in his God. So it's not like this is unprecedented. He's burned people alive before. The reason why people don't like it is because we've seen this girl for like 4 or 5 seasons, and she's a really nice girl, and she's friends with the Onion Knight guy, and she's teaching him to read, and even though she's been locked in a tower, she's still nice. That's why we don't like her being burned alive.
The show is different. They kill people you don't want to die. If this was One Tree Hill, Lucas never dies. He always gets the 3-point shot at the 5-second mark as the basket goes through the net. This is not that kind of show. I mean, this was a show where they burnt this child alive, and they didn't even have Jon Snow to put a fucking arrow through her heart to you know, she burnt to death. I mean, even the wildling guy got his, you know, his honorable death, right? This, you know, what did they expect? Yeah. The fire will touch her skin, and then her sand, stone blood will come out, and she'll become this like iron stone young child who goes around and walks through and bashes down the castle or something like that. I mean, like, it's a different show.
Just, the problem, I think, is that, for me at least, I thought that was a step further than... So the Sansa rape thing wasn't a standout for me. I didn't go, oh my God, that's terrible. Someone who was actually being raped, I think, might well have had that as a trigger. But for me, it was just, yeah, horrible things happen in this show, and that's a really horrible thing. Like, I thought it was really horrible, but okay. The little girl who's completely innocent and nice being burnt at the stake because of some stupid frickin' religion, and don't get me started about religions, it just was like, for flick's sake, because this happens in real life all the time. People are killed because of some stupid belief about some mystical book. And Stannis, I really hope, gets killed by the Boltons now. I know the Ramsay Bolton and Roose Bolton are absolutely horrible. Like, they're not nice people. But they're better than the guy who kills his own daughter. Seriously. They stabbed...
I don't want anything to have got somebody in there to save this kid, right? But the whole point of it, the show is that there is real peril. There is real peril in the show because people can die. And we often go, well, you know, Kip Harrogate, whatever, you know, Jon Snow, he's got too big an actor now, you know.
No.
You know, Jamie's too big now, and, you know, Cersei's too big an actress, what's her name, and, you know, all these kind of people. And that's true to a point, even Tyrion in particular. But I tell you what, I too did think, you know, the dragon was coming to save her. But at the same time, there were points when I did think to myself, in the arena thing, somebody here could die. You know?
Well, people did die. I mean, her husband
betrothed, you know?
But yeah, I mean, the people as well have said about the ending scene, she just flies away. Like, there's still plenty of those sons of the
Hey, look at me, man. I'm not so big. Give me a lift.
It's like, well, we're still outnumbered here. Maybe don't fly away on the dragon. The only thing keeping us from getting killed. The other thing that was interesting was the dragon getting hurt. Yeah. Like, a few spears, and like, as they said on What the Flake, like, throw more spears, dudes. Like, you've got loads of spears. The dragon's obviously hurt by the spears. It's not like it has, you know, scaly armor or something and they just bounce off. No, they landed and they nearly...
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, it was interesting. I also thought, I mean, like, did you not think, like, the CGI the week before was fantastic. This one, in fairness, with dragons, it's always going to be difficult. But, I mean, the trick there was to maybe be a little bit more off camera or something like that. I think they probably did a bit too far.
It was CGI on CGI. So the stadium was CGI, obviously. And it was the dragon flying anywhere. Anytime the dragon was crossing in front of the stadium, I don't know how they messed it up, but that looked really fake, like really bad CGI.
I tell you, there's some great YouTube videos where, you know, they put faces instead of, you know, Emilia Clarke like on her, and some of it, like I've seen some stuff online, and just it's
I guarantee you've got never-ending story crossovers by now.
Oh, no doubt, because there were so many elements of that exactly. But look, it was still quite a compelling episode. It had a lot of pace, and a lot of stuff moving around.
The last episode, I just like the writer of Game of Thrones said to whatever interview I was reading, I think it was on Vulture. He said the last episode is going to be unlike any last episode of any season Game of Thrones fans have ever seen.
Yeah,
and I went, holy crap, what's going to happen in the last
episode? I genuinely think there's going to be somebody else going to die very quickly. I mean, like, you know, people will say, oh, they just killed his daughter now. I mean, like, there's too much heartache for, the couple of episodes. You know, they just, no. So, like, I could see Marjorie Tyrell getting killed.
So what would you prefer to happen? Would you prefer that the last episode is Stannis v. the Boltons in a battle? Whoever dies, like just that there's a big battle, one like the same as the Blackwater. It's just one long episode just concentrating on them. Or would you rather see Cersei's trial and all that kind of stuff? Or would you rather have a mixed episode where they're showing some Arya stuff, some Daenerys stuff, some Cersei stuff, some Stannis stuff?
The last few episodes have been kind of moving through, and they're trying to tie all the stories together. So I suspect that's what it will be. I do think I'm going to call out a prediction. Obviously, I don't know. That kid, Jon Snow's mate, is going to do something crazy.
The little kid, yeah.
He's going to kill Jon Snow or like knife him in the back or do something. He's going to do something. Like,
do you know what they call him on What the Flick? They keep saying he's going to Omar him. I don't know if you've seen The Wire.
No.
Yeah, seen The Wire? Oh. No. I guess it's a spoiler for The Wire, but The Wire is 10 years old at this stage. So there's this character called Omar in The Wire, who's like the total badass. So he's he walks around the neighborhood. Like at one stage, he's out of milk or whatever for his breakfast cereal. He goes out wearing nothing but silk pajamas. He's a gay guy. He walks out wearing nothing but silk pajamas, and he walks down to the store, and everyone on it's in Baltimore among the drug dealers, and all the drug dealers going, Omar's coming, Omar's coming. Everyone's like jumping into their houses. He's wearing nothing. He's got no guns. He walks in, buys the milk, walks back. Omar's coming, Omar's coming. They all run. So this guy's a total badass. And then this is a major spoiler, I think, for the last season of The Wire, but you're probably not going to watch it if it's 10 years later. So there's this little kid we've been seeing the whole season in the last season of The Wire, who's like, trying to make his name on the drug dealing corners. And Omar goes in to buy some cigarettes, and the little kid walks in after him. Omar looks over and just goes, oh, it's just a little kid, like a 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old pulls out a gun, shoots Omar in the head. So on the What the Flick, they're going, yeah, that little kid, the Jon Snow's friend, he's going to Omar him. He's going to like take out one of the biggest characters. Just, he'll be asleep.
He could quite easily do that, because like it's Game of Thrones, there's nobody safe, and if not that, he will try and fail, and then Jon Snow will just have to kill him, which equally could be heartbreaking.
Yeah. But I would say the more surprising thing is Jon Snow is like, okay, I've sorted out the wildlings. I've sorted out all this stuff. I'm finally getting over it. I can take a breath, a sigh of relief. Hey, kid, can you get me my dinner? Oh, this tastes a little strange. And that's the end of Jon Snow. That'd be a total Game of Thrones thing to end the season on.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, we're going to find out soon enough. I don't know. Actually, it's just the last few episodes have been really, really quite good, and I will miss it for a while, but when it goes. But
they better not end on a cliffhanger anyway. Huh?
Hopefully they don't take in too many characters.
Well, I could easily. What would be amazing is if either, like, my number one thing would be Stannis versus the Boltons battle. Like, that's just 1 hour episode, just that. And whoever wins, wins. That's it. And then we'll deal with Cersei and Arya and Daenerys and everything in the next season. That's fine.
Sure.
That'd be my number one. Number two would be Cersei gets the axe and dies. Like, I could easily see that happening as well.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the point. The one beauty of the show, and people don't give enough credit, is, a lot of shows are crutched on, we have, Katie Holmes is, Joey and Pacey and, Dawson's Creek or whoever these shows are. I'm just picking Dawson's Creek or whatever. Or you've got, Seth and Ryan in the OC, all these kind of shows that are popular, whatever. You've got a staple of characters which they design a number of opening episodes which engenders a love by the audience, these people. And once you love these people, frankly, the stories then don't have to be that interesting because they just build the story around these characters who you've now been programmed to love. What's amazing about this show is, you've met these characters, you've hated them or loved them, but they've just gone and they've been able to, and before they've killed off certain people, they've just built in, you didn't know it, but they were building in other characters you weren't that interested in, who were on the fringes. And, and then all of a sudden they kill everybody in the Red Wedding and, you're like, what the fuck is the show? It's fucking got nobody left in it. And then you go, oh, it does, And like if you look
that's interesting what you're saying. So what you're saying is a normal show builds characters in that you love. I would say that Game of Thrones builds in characters that you hate and you want to see die. I mean, a lot of people were waiting for Joffrey to die. A lot of people are now waiting for Ramsay to die.
They love to hate him. Like even now, they were going, "Oh, I'm glad Ramsay's really taken forward this season because, prior to this, he was around. He was in certain scenes. Forget the British actor's name, but like he didn't have the screen time of say Joffrey, and even Joffrey was sort of." They used him sparingly so that he would have that sort of sinister kind of, but even people going, oh, I miss Joffrey. But then Ramsay kind of came to the fore and did a few kind of crazy ass, steam-sealing scenes. And people were like, oh, right, he's now replaced my, person I love to hate kind of person,
I don't know. I mean, I don't think anyone's come close to Joffrey. I think the actor, I forget what his name is, did an amazing job, especially considering his age.
His father sits opposite me. He's a senior counsel. Michael Gleason. It's Jack Gleason is his son. They actually look a lot like. Obviously Jack. I think it's Jack or Gleason. It's Gleason anyway. And he actually played a young kid in the original Batman Begins. And he's been in a few bits and pieces. But I didn't realize this because I've been watching Game of Thrones. I didn't realize that until somebody said, "Oh yeah, no, he's related to his father, Michael." I think he did a great job. And actually, I agree. People don't realize that because Joffrey was kind of younger and you never really saw what he was up to with other women other than a few times, right, on screen. You kind of look and go, where was all the outcry when he had, as you say, wench number one basically crucified to a bed, and being whipped to death or killed, right? Where was all the outcry about that?
But that's, if you don't like, and as well, people hated Theon when Theon then was like slowly killed by Ramsay. But I just think, I think Ramsay's a very interesting character. I just think no one, like out of all of the characters, even I think no one's come close to Joffrey for just sheer hatred that people had for that character. And I think it maybe partially it's down to the great portrayal of Joffrey, but I think it's also partially down to we're now 5 seasons in. We know that these characters, there's going to be hateful characters in it.
Yeah, I mean the hand.
Before we move on, I just want to mention the guy that Arya was stalking. That was a very TV moment as well for me. She's stalking one of the guys on her list, the list of guys she wants to kill. And he's in the brothel and he goes younger. And then he goes younger and he goes younger. And then he's like off to rape some 12-year-old. That was very TV, like, hey, remember this guy? Let's show you he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy because he likes young girls. Like, that was very basic and kind of...
Yeah, but actually, though, I didn't think it was that. I think it was a case of she will have to pose to be this person to kill him. That's how she's going to get killed.
Yeah, maybe so. But
I thought that was the cop-out because actually she had the opportunity there. Instead of being shooed away with the rifle, she should have said, and I think that's going to happen on the next occasion. She's going
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I just thought my interpretation was this was just a scene to go, hey, I know you probably don't remember this guy since he hasn't popped up since season 2.
Well, I could be wrong. But it does set it up for a scene next week where it's like she's trying to find, because he says, tomorrow you'll get me another another fresh one, right?
Yeah.
I think something like that. And it's like, well, tomorrow then Ari's got to be outside while your one's looking for some young girl, and she goes, "I'll do it," you know. But
even Arya might be too old for him.
possibly, but yeah, I think that's where I was leading with that. But I mean, equally goes back to that the not the hand, the mountain. Like they've killed off even people that you kind of begrudgingly dislike, and the hand. Well, the guy with the face. What was it?
Oh, the Hound. Yeah.
The Hound.
The mountain is on Frankenstein's table.
Yeah, that's right. The mountain was his brother. We haven't heard anything from him since that thing, and maybe he'll be sent in to rescue Cersei. Such a Frankenstein creature comes through the zealots, religious zealots sort of palace, going, "Oh, I want Cersei." I don't know.
I think that's possible because the weirdo guy who's doing his Frankenstein experiments, that's not going to go well under the religious regime. No. I mean, he surely realizes that. He's like, Cersei is his best ally. So if he's going to continue with his weirdo experiments, it's going to be under Cersei. So I'd wonder whether he's going to make the attempt. Like he did say when he was talking to Cersei, "Don't worry, there's a way out." The one interpretation is you could kill yourself.
Yeah, or confess. He wasn't going to do that. Okay, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We'll find out. Obviously, nobody wants it to come to an end, but yeah, we're going to find out next week. We'll probably be talking about what happened, who died.
I'd say we could easily spend an entire episode talking about it.
Yeah, we might well do, although there'll be a lot of easy stuff to talk about. But tell us this, we get one name, who's going to die?
Oh, probably Cersei.
Cersei, you think Cersei?
I hope, Cersei I think probably will die. Stannis I hope will die. Like what I want to see, so I should go into this actually, this was a theory I had. We're extending the episode a little bit, but Melisandre takes Stannis into battle, and Stannis is losing, and Stannis goes, "What the hell, you told me I was going to win if I killed my daughter." And she goes, "Dude, I was never on your side. I, in my witchcraft predictions, predicted that you were going to end up as the king of Westeros, and for my Lord of the Light, I don't want that to happen. So I've been screwing you at every turn." Like, I could easily see that happening, that Melisandre is not on his side because she's completely suckered him in. She could turn around and go, "Yeah, dude, I was never on your side. This was to stop you, not to help you," and then walk off. And Stannis is like, "I killed my freaking daughter for nothing." That was my theory of something that could happen.
Reek.
Yeah, Reek is. I've had a spoiler. I've had a spoiler from the book, so I won't mention.
Well, I
know what happens in the books with Reek, so I won't mention what happens in the books with Reek. I don't know that it'll happen by the end of the season.
Now.
Huh?
You don't know if that'll happen now.
No, I don't. And it's a different character that went to that was sent in. It was another character that was sent in impersonating Sansa in the books, and in the TV show it's actual Sansa. So I don't know that it's going to happen. But even like if the last episode, if I mention it now and that the last episode is that exact thing, then it'd be a pain in the ass. I already had it spoiled for me by some book reader, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone else.
Yeah, okay, but we've talked about no. We don't really know, but I mean, like, look, I'm just thinking at the moment he seems like the most disposable character, because from my point of view, it's like he hasn't really come along and what's he going to do? He's either going to continue on as he is. He's going to try and save Sansa, or he's going to continue on as he is and get killed anyway by Ramsay, because Ramsay's just waiting for any day to kill him. So it's like kind of.
But he could easily. There's a reason why Ramsay keeps him alive, and that's because Theon Greyjoy is a very important person. Like he could potentially sway control of the Iron Islands, or be used to get to the Starks, or whatever it happens to be. Now Ramsay doesn't know the Starks are alive, obviously, but yeah, there's lots of ways that Theon could still be used. So I don't think Ramsay's going to kill him unless he really has to. Like if Theon then tries to stab Ramsay, obviously he'd kill him. But yeah, I don't know that he would die, because it's difficult to predict with Game of Thrones, but it seems like people die when they're either have shown everything that they've got, either in the evil way or in the good way. Like they've shown their character. And I think Reek is still in a kind of a flux state.
But you don't think there's any redemption for Theon, for Reek? You don't see that. He's going to die.
Well, he already redeemed himself a little bit. So he betrayed Sansa and said, hey, she was trying to get help. But then he
gave her the comfort of telling her about her siblings.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of...
That's the first chink in the armor.
Way towards helping Sansa.
But the first chink in the armor is just probably the precursor to making the audience hope that it's like, he's going to help her. And that's the precursor to him getting his head chopped off.
If he would have helped her, he would have helped her when she was getting raped by Ramsay. Like at this stage, the only reason he would help her is if he finds out she's going to be killed, maybe, or in the chaos of battle, maybe he can kind of go, like, say Ramsay is leaning over the castle wall to look at the troops attacking, and Theon can just go, boof. Like, maybe he'd think that, but like he's even said, "Oh, Master always knows." So I don't think he'd even dare to do it then. Like, even if there's no chance of Ramsay getting back at him.
But it's because he's a broken man. He's a broken man.
Yeah.
It's only wishful thinking to think that he's going to somehow change.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's only so many times they can do that as well. Like, have the audience hope that he's going to change. Otherwise, people will get sick of it and go, okay, seriously. He's never going to change. We don't want to see it.
Well, that rounds up episode 16 of the Pundit podcast. Anyone listening or to this podcast on iTunes or watching on YouTube or some of the other on Simon's blog, you can get me on @BadBarrister on Twitter if you want to ask questions about the show or ask us questions to deal with on next week's show. You can get Simon on @Canton on Twitter, and also you can check out Simon's books, some of which are available for free on simoncanton.com. And you also have your blog there, Simon. You write often about Game of Thrones, often about shows such as The Kingsman and other shows as well, such as Daredevil. You have an entire season review where you decided you didn't like it very much. So
I'm guessing I'll probably write something about Game of Thrones when the season ends as well.
Yeah, well, definitely. But also, Simon, you can get Simon on your YouTube channel as well. You're doing a number of Let's Plays at the moment, and also some. I saw some TV reviews as well that you're doing.
Yeah, I've got a mix of stuff there. It depends how much time I have. Like, if I only have limited time, I'll just write something on my blog. But if I have a bit of time, I'll record a video review.
Yeah, and you and all the links to that are on Simon's website. So until next week, when we'll no doubt be telling everybody about the Fallout, because Fallout 4 is going to be announced or has been announced. We'll talk probably about Fallout 4, a game I've never even played 1, 2, or 3 of, but is meant to be one of the big games of the.
Well, it's 150 hours to play New Vegas, so how about you do that by next week, and we can talk about it.
I'm looking forward to other games, games that I'm familiar with. I'm actually looking forward to Halo 5. We'll be talking about that. We'll probably be talking about the season finale of Game of Thrones, and no doubt we'll be checking whether or not predictions such as Reek being dead, or Stannis, or Cersei was your call, and whether or not we were correct about any of those things. And until next week, we're out of here.
See ya.